Alright, so the last thing we're going to be doing is using the inverse, or I'll show you another way, and you pick which one you want to use, but the inverse really works for anything bigger than a 2 by 2, so we'll get to that in a second. But what we're going to do is we're going to solve equations. This is not a scalar, because I'm looking at this and I've got a 2 by 2 matrix, and I'm being chopped down to a 2 by 1, so there's no way that this is just like a 5 or a 1/3, because that's not going to get me just a 2 by 1. That means X is actually a matrix. What I've got here, if I think about it, is A times X equaling B, and A and B are matrices. If I'm trying to solve for for X, I would divide by A. Well, that's going to leave B divided by A. Remember, when you have division, it's like a negative exponent, so A to the negative 1 times B. And if we remember what that means the inverse. So if I could find the inverse, then I would be the inverse of matrix A, then I would know that that times B is going to be your final result for X. So if we go through and do this, I've got 4, -7, -2, and 2. I'm going to put my zeros and ones, and the more that you do these, the quicker you're going to get. So constant times row 1, that's going to be 1. I'm going to go ahead and make it -1/2. 1/4 and 0. This does not change. Then I'm going to go ahead and do 7 row 1 plus row 2 to alter row 2. I'm going to run out of room here. Oops, sorry. It's going to give me 0, -7/2. So let's see here, -7/2 plus 4/2. That's going to be -3/2. And then I've got 7/4 plus 0. Let me make this better to read. -3/2. That's going to give me 1 over here, and that's, what did I say? 7/4. Then I have to multiply by a constant here. So we're going to do, we got to multiply by a negative, and we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So 1, -1/2, 1/4, and 0. 0, 1. I'm going to go ahead and do -2/3. That's a quick one. And then -12, sorry. And then my last step is to go through and I'm going to do 1/2 a constant times row 2 plus row 1. So it's 1, 0, 1. I'm going to go ahead and say -7/6, -2/3. It's going to give me 0, and then I'm taking half, so that's going to be -7/12 plus 3/12 is -4/12, which, let's see, what is that, -1/3, and then I've got 1/2 times -2/3, so that's going to be -2/6 plus 0, -1/3. That's my inverse. Now, we're not done. So what you're going to do now is take your inverse. So I'm going to do -1/3, -7/6, -2/3, and -1/3, and multiply that by matrix B. And my result will be what I'm looking for. So if we do this multiplication, we'll slide this down. Let's get a different color. We're going to go across by down, and that's going to give me +2. Plus -4, and then I'm going to drop down here, and we're going to get +7 minus, what is that, 8, 24/3, yep. So my final answer is going to be, let's see, 2 minus 4, -2, -1. So once you get the inverse, it is a pretty fast process.